Professor Harvey Kaye with you, Professor of Justice and Democracy and Justice Studies at the University of Wisconsin at Green Bay, author of the forthcoming book, The Fight for the Four Freedoms, What Made FDR and the Greatest Generation Truly Great, and also author of Thomas Paine and the Promise of America, Brilliant History of the American Revolution. His website is twitter.com/HarveyK, HarveyJK, right?
Right.
Okay. Professor Kaye, welcome back to the program.
It's great to be here, Tom. Absolutely great.
It is always great to have you. And I mentioned your book on Thomas Paine, not only because I think it's one of the finest books on that era, and it's a great way of understanding the American Revolution and the post-revolutionary period and all that kind of stuff. Paine was arguably one of our most important founders. But also today is Thomas Paine's birthday.
Absolutely. Happy birthday, Thomas Paine.
There you go.
January 29th.
There you go. And any idea how old he would be today?
I should have calculated. 277, let's see, 1737, is that 200?
He'd be moving kind of slow.
Yeah, right. I'm moving slow here, right. Well, you know what? It's pretty cold out here in Wisconsin. I'll excuse myself with that.
Yeah, there you go. It's pretty cold everywhere. I mean, it's this global warming thing weakening the jet stream so that it's allowing polar air to slop down.
In the Thomas Paine vein and the weather vein, I can tell you that I was down this past weekend, as I do every year, celebrating Paine's birthday with Florida Veterans for Common Sense in Sarasota. And it's a great bunch of guys, a progressive group of guys. We had 150 to 160 people turn out for the dinner party. The amazing thing was that there I was in Sarasota thinking I had an escape from the chill of Wisconsin, and the temperatures there had to be 20 to 30 degrees below what I was hoping for.
Whoa. Yeah.
Not that anyone should feel sorry for me. It was wonderful, and it was great to celebrate Paine's birthday again with the vets.
Yeah. So tell me, Professor Kaye, what would Thomas Paine say about the President's State of the Union speech if he were alive today?
I can't help but say I think he'd be actually terribly disappointed. I think that what would strike him in particular is that going into this speech, President Obama spoke of the necessity for us to do something about the gross inequalities of wealth and income in this country. And I'm sure Obama thought hard about it and decided he was not going to go where Thomas Paine would have gone. Because what Paine would have done is not only challenged that inequality, he would have called on Americans to join him in challenging that inequality. He would have called upon Americans to rise up, make noise, organize, and mobilize. It was hard to hear a president from the Democratic Party practically begging capital America to give a wage, as opposed to saying it's time to organize labor and ask for the justice that we are due.
Or demand the justice. Yeah, I mean, he
was
saying...
exactly. I mean, it was just astonishing. And, the thing about Paine is he implanted, when he wrote Common Sense in the Crisis, he sort of imbued us with this sense that we Americans are really the governors of this nation. And I think what's worrying is to consider the fact that we elected a president in 2008, we re-elected a president in 2012, constantly hoping that he really did mean, yes, we, capital We, can. And over again, it's a matter of beseeching the Republicans or the conservative rich to do the right thing.
Yeah. He said he's going to work with CEOs to try to get wages up. Really?
Yeah, there wasn't a single mention of labor. There wasn't a single mention of popular action. I mean, it was astounding. And what Thomas Paine was about was speaking to his fellow citizens, putting into words their aspirations, unspoken aspirations, and really turning what was a colonial rebellion into a revolution for a democratic republic.
Right.
And I think Paine would be in pain. I think he would be utterly disappointed in what he heard last night. And I was, and I'd like to think that Paine and I are on the same wavelength.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt in my mind that you guys, that you're probably the reincarnation of Thomas Paine.
Well, that's really nice.
To give the president, to cut him a little bit of slack, we no longer have a democratic republic here. Now that the Supreme Court has asserted absolutely, and particularly over the last 40 years or so, ever since Lewis Powell was on the court in a big way. I mean, it was 38 years ago this week that we had the Buckley case.
That memo, and also that memo he wrote just before he got onto the Supreme Court.
Yes, and which I just wrote a book about.
I know that. It's a wonderful book. Everyone should read it.
Thank you. And that we know that what we have now is a constitutional monarchy. I mean, there is not a single monarch in the developed world that has the power to strike down laws or to invent doctrines out of whole cloth and put them into law, a power that the Supreme Court has asserted, even though it's not found in the Constitution. What would Paine say about that?
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of a democratic republic is that the people govern, right?
Yeah.
That they assert their authority. And that when they elect their representatives, those representatives are accountable to the people. Now, there were no polls, P-O-L-L-S, at the time of Paine's writing, but we know from polls and surveys just how much Americans want to address this question of inequality in power. They want action. Now, the question now is not what Obama will do. The question is, what will we do? What will we hear from Richard Trumka? What will we hear from the leaders of what remains of a civil rights movement? What will we hear from the leaders of consumer rights? When are we going to rally around some common purpose, a democratic purpose, and demand that we reclaim the heritage, the legacy that Thomas Paine afforded us?
And I would like to start by amending the Constitution to say that money is not protected by the First Amendment and corporations are not protected by the 14th Amendment.
Absolutely. I second the proposal.
Okay. Professor Harvey Kaye, Professor of Democracy and Justice Studies at the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay, author of the forthcoming book, The Fight for the Four Freedoms, What Made FDR and the Greatest Generation Truly Great, and the previous book, Thomas Paine and the Promise of America. I had the title right?
Right, and I look forward to our next conversation.
It's been a couple of years since I read. It's an absolutely brilliant book. Today is Thomas Paine's birthday. Thank you, Harvey.
Okay, bye-bye, Tom.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program.